Hi and good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome along to AFTV News Daily, and I hope it's going to be a great day for you guys. Bit of a wind blowing outside, rain as well. So it doesn't look like it. The last few days actually have been a bit rainy and a bit miserable. Probably that's a good thing because it makes sure that everybody stays inside. Last week when the weather was really, really nice, obviously lots of people looking to try and venture out, but we got to keep to the rules. And the lockdown continues, and at the moment still no sort of talk on when this is going to end. I think I heard something today that in the UK they might be sort of giving a statement on how much longer it's going to continue, but certainly at the moment it doesn't look like this is coming to an end. If you look at over in Spain and Italy, they're countries that, you know, sort of got hit hard with it even before we did, and they're still in lockdown. How much longer is this going to go on? You know, you wonder to yourself. But hey, the main thing is about staying safe and protecting the NHS. So I hope that we are all doing that. So lots of news today for me to tell you about. First of all, this really interesting one yesterday about the finances at Arsenal. Now, a lot of AST members yesterday, AST is the Arsenal Supporters Trust, received an email where it was sort of detailing the state of the finances at Arsenal, which are not good at the moment. And I was looking at this this article that was in the Evening Standard, where they talk about what the AST sort of sent out to a lot of its members, and it doesn't look great, the finances for Arsenal. Going through some of this article, it says here that the AST forecast that Arsenal are set for a loss of 19 million for the year ending May 2020 if the remaining Premier League fixtures are played behind closed doors as expected. Prior to the suspension of football, the Gunners have been on course for an estimated profit of £4 million, but the AST predicted that matchday revenue would fall by around 12 million to 80 million if the club are forced to refund season ticket holders for the final 4 Premier League games of the season and the 2 prepaid credits, which is going to happen because if we come back, it will be behind closed doors. The article goes on to say, with matchday income making up some 24% of Arsenal's revenue, AST also forecast that the club would lose around 144 million if all of next season's matches were played with behind fans. Hopefully that won't happen, but that seems to be the worst case scenario. Although there has so far been no indication that such extreme measures are likely, the Trust also forecasts that the absence of season ticket renewals, which have been postponed, would cost the club around about 70 million, which is usually used to cover the costs during the summer months. And in summarizing the analysis, which was emailed by to all AST members on Wednesday, the Trust said the reduction in income from playing BCD for the rest of the season will knock 23 million from available cash at the end of the season, as will the absence of season ticket renewals, which will be 70 million. Combined impact will leave little spare cash in the summer, especially if the sponsors withhold part of their advance payments. So that paints a pretty bleak picture that there's not going to be a lot of money, if any, available this summer when you look at all of those losses that are predicted at Arsenal. The one thing I kept thinking when I was reading that article is, what's the cash injection from our friend Stan Kroenke? Remember we heard the other day that he's going to be putting in a cash injection. It'd be really interesting to find out what that cash injection is. Is it just to pay some of the backroom staff and pay some of the, you know, the people who work in the shop, etc., etc., or is some of that money going to be used on transfers? Because certainly you can see there's going to be hardly any money for transfers. And we heard yesterday that Mikel Arteta has already been told, you know, be prepared for loan deals, swap deals, all those sort of stuff. But how much is our friend Stan going to be putting into the club? What is this cash injection going to be? What is the cash injection going to be used for? That is a very interesting question that we haven't had answered yet. And I think every fan would really, really like to know what that's going to be in this time of need. And remember, Mesut Ozil was saying that, you know, I want to see where our money goes and stuff like, well, I think you can see that maybe some of the money could be used for those losses. And Arsenal's one of the first clubs to come out with this pay cut. And, you know, I've still not heard any news of a pay cut at Chelsea, Manchester United, City. Well, you know, City could finance themselves really, but City, I've heard nothing coming out of Liverpool about a pay cut. So it's kind of, you know, even Tottenham, I don't think they've said yet that they're doing a pay cut. So why were we like the first ones to jump on this straight away pay cut? Maybe that's what peed off Mesut Ozil. But certainly the finances are not in great shape, as you can see from that. And I don't think we can expect to see big transfers this summer unless we sell. And that could mean Aubameyang. And I don't want that to happen because we're just setting ourselves back for more, you know, more mediocrity in the future and more losses if we can't, you know, get anywhere near the Champions League. Dayot Upamecano has been linked with Arsenal forever. It seems like there was a lot of reports yesterday that actually goodbye to all of that because he'd decided to join Bayern Munich and they had an agreement in place. However, we're hearing today now that he's done a U-turn on that and is going to stay at RB Leipzig for another season. So could we go in for him next year when we've got a lot of wages, you know, released off of the wage bill, and maybe we could go in and make a better deal for him? I mean, certainly, look, there's big clubs in for him, left, right, and centre. And Bayern, of course, for a player when you're playing in Germany is always very attractive. You know, they're a top club. So, but Upamecano looks like he's going to be staying at Leipzig for another season. The Thomas Partey one gets more interesting every day. Now, I don't know if you saw this story where his management team, this is the same management team who last week were having a go at his dad, because I think his dad did some either an interview or something over there in Ghana where he was talking about how Arsenal were interested in signing him and he wouldn't mind his son playing for Arsenal, etc. And then they came out, his management team, and they said, listen, this is rubbish. He shouldn't be saying this. We've not made no agreements, blah, blah, blah. We're in no negotiations. Well, they scored a bit of an own goal himself, his management team, because they put out a picture of him on their Instagram with the caption, "Pick his club." And the selection that they put in that pick his club thing were Manchester United, Juventus, PSG, Bayern, and Arsenal. So those were the selection of clubs that they put there. Now, they quickly deleted it afterwards and they apologized and said, this shouldn't have been put up. And well, why was that put up? And certainly that shows you that, you know, they are definitely thinking of a move. They didn't include Atletico in that caption, which is a club that he plays for now. Atletico Madrid in a lot of problems financially as well. They got a stadium to pay for. And why would they put that? Manchester United, Juventus, PSG, Bayern, and Arsenal. Now, quickly deleted afterwards, yes, but that doesn't mean it's already, as you know, in social media, we've all done it. Once it's out there, it's out there. And people are asking questions. And, of course, it intensifies. Is Partey leaving this summer? And where is he going to? And could it be Arsenal? Now, again, we know he's got that £43 million release clause. We know that Arteta's a big fan. But it's only going to happen if, again, if you look at what I said at the beginning about the finances, what the AST are saying, what even Raul and Edu have been saying, the money ain't going to be there. We know it's not going to be there. So we'd have to sell to enable us to buy somebody like a Partey. But that was put out there. And then there's Saka. He's in the news again today. Reports that negotiations are still going ahead at the moment to try and get Saka signed up to a new long-term deal. To me, that should be a massive priority. We've got to get Saka done. But Arsenal do seem confident that they are going to get it done. They have to get it done because there are teams circling. I heard Liverpool are interested in him as well. So Arsenal do need to get it done. But there's reports that if they don't get it done, they've lined up a replacement. And that is this guy, Sergio Reguilon. And he's a Real Madrid player. One of the many, many, many Real Madrid players who are out on loan at the moment. He's out at loan at Sevilla, 23 years of age, plays as a left back. And reports are coming out of Spain that Arsenal are interested in him, having a look at him and are interested in him. And of course, these newspapers and media and websites putting two and two together, the Saka negotiations going on, have then gone with the story that he is a potential replacement for Saka. I don't think so. There's quite a few clubs looking at him. Spurs apparently looking at him as well. But for me, why do we need another left back? Even if, well, I suppose if you sold Kolasinac, that would be the only one that I'd think. If you sold Kolasinac, then you've only got Tierney. But then if you've still got Saka, you don't need another left back. So if we sign Saka and we've got Tierney, even if Kolasinac went, we would not need another left back. It makes no sense to me. But, Arsenal being linked with him today. Listen, we get linked with practically everybody. That's just the nature of being a huge club, that we're going to get linked with everybody. Now, what about this next story? Alli of Spurs. Now, listen to what this geezer's come out and said today, right? He was in an interview and he was being asked the questions about, rivalries and North London derby and stuff like that. I think he was doing an interview with Copper 90, and he came out and he said that he thinks their rivalry with Chelsea is bigger than the rivalry with Arsenal. Now, what the hell is this guy talking about? He thinks the game against Chelsea is bigger than the North London derby. These are his quotes. He said, I think if you ask the fans, they'll give you a different answer. But as players, the way things have been going with the league and games, the rivalry with Chelsea is bigger than the one with Arsenal because of what they've done to us in the recent years. And he's probably referring to, was it 2016 when they were looking like they could win the title and Chelsea put a right spanner in it. For fans, it's different, he goes on to say, because the North London derby is massive. But as players, I think it's Chelsea. What a load of rubbish this guy is talking. That Tottenham versus Chelsea is bigger than the North London derby. They get a couple of years where they've done better than us in the league and, playing in the Champions League. And all of a sudden, this guy thinks that they're so big now that the North London derby is no longer relevant to him. I mean, what, honestly, what a load of rubbish. Look, how many years, right? How many years have Arsenal been on top of Spurs? And I mean, when I mean on top, I mean way ahead, way ahead of Spurs. Spurs are not even challenging us in any way. Remember St. Tottenham's Day? We used to do that every year. They're just miles away from us, yeah? But for me, still the biggest derby, North London derby, right? We had the period where, of course, the biggest rivalry was with us and Man United because we were always going for the league. But Tottenham ain't going for it's one time they were going for the league, right? Where Chelsea put a spanner in their works. They're not going for the league. It's not like they're rivaling Chelsea year in, year out for the league. What is this guy talking about? We were rivaling at that time. We were rivaling Manchester United year in, year out for the league. You had the big rivalry between, of course, Arsene Wenger and Fergie. That was different. But even in those times, the North London derby was very important. Before Spurs in their last couple of years started to get a little bit of steam up, right? We were rivaling Chelsea way more than Spurs. You know, the sort of title, the biggest team in London, it would always be us and Chelsea. But for me, the biggest game still was when we played Spurs. And he even admits in his thing, he said, the fans will probably say, of course, that. Well, if you're a Tottenham fan, surely you're going to say it's the North London derby. I know there's a bit of rivalry between Chelsea and Spurs. I think it's more on the Chelsea side, because if you look at rivalries in London, the big rivalries are all to do with Spurs. Obviously, you've got the North London derby, Chelsea versus Spurs. They, a lot of Chelsea fans look on that as their big sort of derby game. West Ham versus Spurs. They hate Spurs. They look on that as their big derby game. So, but the North London derby is the biggest derby. And what is this guy talking? And it just, to me, is like, you've had a couple of seasons where you've done all right. And all of a sudden now you're getting ahead of yourself. And, for the players, we think it's the rivalry with Chelsea. What rivalry? You only had like that year when you was going for the league where Chelsea, put a halt to that. But apart from that, what are you rivaling Chelsea to win the league year in, year out? What are you talking about? What's this idiot on about? Honestly, man, when I saw that, I was like, what is he talking about? I mean, you may disagree with me. Let me know. But I honestly, I don't get it. And I think any true Tottenham fan will know that the biggest game, the game that they want to win above all games is the game against Arsenal. And it's the same for Arsenal fans as well. The game that we want to win above all games, right, is the one against Spurs. So, and there's bigger games than the game against Spurs. There's bigger games when but that is the game for me as the North London derby. That's the one. Let's get into what some of you guys are saying. This guy said, Jazzy will say, love to see Arsenal fans rattle. That's probably why he did it. He might have done it that way to try and rattle it. But I'm sorry. If anybody who's saying differently, I don't think you've been to a North London derby, So, Football Channel says, my dad hates Chelsea and Spurs, but my dad loves the North London derby against the jokes. And as I said, for how many years? How many years has that been the biggest game? Carly, so for Facebook, he's saying, recently as a player in Tottenham, you will take the rivalry of Chelsea to be greater as per Alli's margin of play in the North London derby. I'm sorry, there's that 1 year, yes, obviously the 1 year when Chelsea, which was brilliant. I was supporting Chelsea that night, right? When Tottenham looked like they could win the title, they were going head-to-head with Leicester, and they went to Stamford Bridge, and Chelsea had been terrible all season. All of a sudden, they stepped up, and they really, they played like it was the Champions League final, and they beat Tottenham, and it stopped them from winning the league. And I could understand why a Tottenham player would be peed off with that and would be saying, you know what, that night, the way these guys, and the way they celebrated, like it's almost like they thought they won the league or something, and all they did was stop us from winning the league. I get all that. But you cannot say that that is bigger than the North London derby. North London derby is the biggest game when it comes to Arsenal and Tottenham, if you're a true Arsenal or Tottenham fan. Simon says, Delhi is clearly a plastic, typical Spuds. And I wouldn't even say that, because I think any proper Spurs fan would say that's the biggest derby. But, maybe someone would say different. I don't know. Come here and tell me. Kyrie says, that year Tottenham was going for the league, we still finished above them. That is true. We did still finish above them. And Arv says, I'm sure Harry Kane would disagree with Ali. It'd be interesting to know what the other players are saying. Juho says, Dele Alli's a waste man, blood. Right, well, I think I agree with you on that one, because I don't know where he's coming from with that. This guy says, Chelsea felt bigger because they had better players than Tottenham. Listen, mate, talking about. For how many years, we're playing Tottenham. We got Thierry Henry, we got Robert Pires, we got all these guys. They've got like Robbie Keane and things like that. But it's still the biggest game. It didn't matter that the thing is about the North London derby. This is the thing that makes it such a great derby. Doesn't matter how poor Spurs have been over the years. When they come to play us, they step up. That's what I don't know with this guy. You obviously don't know the history of the North London derby. He's saying now that, because we went to Chelsea that year and they stepped up and they celebrated like they won the league because they stopped us from winning the title. But, that was basically every year when you played us for about the last God knows how many years, because you've been nowhere near us. But it's still been the biggest game. Still been the biggest game. Simple. Omar says DTFC and AFTVFC, the biggest rivalry there is to be. Not quite the North London derby. Winfred says next time he plays in the North London derby, we should break. I'm not saying much. I'm not going that far. Munish says, why are people getting triggered? It's his opinion and the way you have an option. Okay, yeah, it's his opinion. Hey, listen, because he's chatting rubbish, that's why. Because the biggest derby is a North London derby. And as I'm saying, the thing that has annoyed me with this is that, yes, I'm going to admit it. Right now, I'm going to admit it. For the past couple of seasons, they've been the better club. They've done better than us. They got to the Champions League final last year. We got to the Europa League final. We both lost, by the way, but they did better than us last season. They had a better season. They got into the Champions League. This season, they're slightly better than us. Remember, they're 1 point above us, I think, now. We've got a game in hand. So they're doing slightly better than us this season. And we've been having a terrible season. But over the years, we've been miles, at times, miles above Spurs. You would say to yourself that Spurs wouldn't even come into our conversation. It should be just a standard game because they're just nowhere near us. But for me and for Arsenal fans, that game is still the game I want to win. That is still the game. There was one period, as I said, that the biggest game was definitely the game against Manchester United, but that's because we were going for the league season in, season out. Are they going for the league season in, season out with Chelsea? They've been nowhere near Chelsea. Archie says they have no trophies except the Audi Cup. Well, that's it. Maybe that's the biggest trophy now, according to Dele Alli, the Audi Cup. Kaylee says they've had a bad season as well. They certainly is. The real one says London is red. Dr. Viraj says, I wonder what pot Ali's smoking at his place. Absolute load of crap. Simple to me. This guy says, Alex says, the biggest game for me really is Arsenal versus Manchester United. It used to be the biggest game, right? It isn't no more. Isn't no more. For me, it isn't. The biggest game is Arsenal versus Tottenham. It always has been for me. But there was a period, I ain't going to lie, there was a period, of course, when it was Arsene Wenger, Fergie, we were both going for the title. That became the biggest game, right? For years, because we were always like neck and neck for the title. But in Delhi, in the Tottenham Chelsea case, as I said, it was that 1 year. That 1 year, they're carrying on like they're nowhere near Chelsea, right? The 1 year, and the Chelsea just, stopped them from winning the title. And because he's so bitter about that, right? He's now trying to say that that's the biggest rivalry. So now he's so driven to try and get one over on Chelsea because of that. But no, are you like what we were with Man United, going year in, year out to win the league? What are you talking about? Mr. A says Spurs are the Everton of the derby. We are the Liverpool. They need to realise that. And listen, you look at these other derbies. Newcastle versus Sunderland. Doesn't matter that Newcastle are now in League One. If that game is an FA Cup game or something like that, speak to every Newcastle fan and tell them which game they'd want to win for the season. And I think they will tell you that game. It's the rivalry. The rivalry is there. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. George says, good morning, Robbie. I'm an Arsenal fan. Dele Alli is an MK Dons fan. Maybe he's talking about MK Dons versus Chelsea derby. I don't know. I'm not even sure if that is a derby. But I don't know what this guy is on right now. I really don't know what this guy is on. Jamsev says, apart from the striker, Chelsea are better in every position than Arsenal. He's probably coming back on the argument that we was having last night. We had Lewis from Blues Fans TV on, and we was both asked the question, which players would you take? And, you know, he said he'd take, like, I think it was 2-3 players from Arsenal. And I said I'd take like 2-3 players from Chelsea. There ain't a lot in it. You know, I mean, well, I nearly fell over when he said to me that Kepa is better than Leno. Are you having what? Does this guy agree with that as well? Apart from the striker, what? Kepa is better than Leno. You lot guys ain't even playing him this season. He's been so crap. So I don't know what you're talking about. Denzel says, to be fair, the Spurs v Chelsea game seems a lot more violent and emotional in recent times. Son getting sent off. Oh, boo-hoo. Look, you forgot the North London derby at the Emirates. With that, what's his name again? That slabhead, the one who tried to run into the crowd to attack fans in another game. Him squaring up with the Arsenal players right down in the corner, it nearly kicked off big time. You forget about that. You know, you forget about literally every North London derby, people are squaring up. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, man. You know what I mean? Do you watch the North London derby properly? Surely not. Let's get a couple more. Let's do a few more here. I'm loving the debate. I'm loving the debate in it. Zach says, in fairness, the rivalry has probably grown because of Jose Mourinho. Obviously, Mourinho managed both teams. Yeah, all right, but I'm sorry. It's an intense game. It's an intense game. I know that, right? There is a rivalry there. I've known that from, you know, you speak to Chelsea fans, they look on that game as, you know, like the team they really hate is Tottenham. That's been long before Dele Alli was even around, right? But for an Arsenal fan and a Tottenham fan, your biggest game is the North London derby. That's the game, right? So I don't know where he's coming from with this. As I said, it's based off of that season when they got tonked and stopped from winning the league. Get over it, Dele Alli. Get over it. Freddie says, Robbie, why do you care? Because I'm an Arsenal fan. And the North London derby, I care about that. I do care about that, right? Trust me. And maybe, you know, I'm not sure if you've ever been to one. Get along to one and you'll see why people care. That game is not even it's a game that's very hard to enjoy because it's so emotional. It's such an emotional roller coaster, that game. Destiny says, we have been miles ahead of Spurs for years because Ali is absolutely mad. Spurs ain't even won the league, so Dele Alli can talk all he wants to talk, which is what he's doing. I think he's chatting a load of rubbish. I really do. You know, and in recent years, right, you could say that we could have argued up until a few years ago, we could have argued that our rivalry with Chelsea was bigger than Tottenham because, you know, we were closer to them. We were both always in the top 4 every year. We would be the team that, you know, could throw a spanner in the works of, you know, of Chelsea maybe going on to win a title. We've had players that have played, you know, like Ashley Cole at Arsenal, but we still considered the North London derby to be the bigger game, you know? Gareth Morris says, Arsenal are not on Chelsea and Tottenham's level. Simple. What are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? Even at the moment in the league, we're just behind Spurs. And we've been having the season from hell. Tell me how many leagues have Tottenham won? How many leagues have Tottenham won over the years, right? They've only recently got into the Champions League on a regular. We were doing that for like nearly 20 years straight. What is this guy on about? Come on, man. What are you talking about, bro? You know? K-Shot Gaming says we hate Spurs and he's a Chelsea fan. I know that. I know that they do. I know that they do. Eric Dyer, that's a guy I was trying to remember. Yeah, that slabhead. Yeah, he was the one who nearly caused a big fight at the Emirates. I think it was not this season, the previous season. That was the game when Torreira scored that goal. Listen, I cannot understand how people could say, Simon says maybe to him Chelsea is the bigger derby because they have more chance of winning against them than us. Good idea. Maybe that's true. And you know what? The thing is about it, right, as well, about this derby is that it's been, over the years, as I said, we've been miles ahead of Spurs, but it's still a tough game because just like Dele Alli, I don't know what his problem was, that Chelsea really stepped up for that game to try and beat them. But we've had that over the years with Spurs. They had a chance of winning the league. They've been nowhere near the top four. But when they come to play us, they step up 10 gears because they want to stop us from doing anything. They want to just stop us because they're these rivals. Simple as that. Mr. A says Dele Alli needs to realise his fans sing a song about him, which has Ozil in it. We're always in their heads. Tyler says Theo Walcott 2-0. They threw the pound coins at him while being stretchered off. That's a rivalry. Exactly. Me walking down Seven Sisters Road and having about 100 of them trying to kill me. That's rivalry, right? Doesn't happen at any other ground. It happens there because of the rivalry, right? Get it right. Let's get a few more. Says Robbie, who among Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea, Spurs is soon to be a contender for the title? Well, listen, it all depends. The coronavirus thing has thrown up a lot of issues. I think Spurs and Arsenal financially are going to be hit harder than Chelsea and Manchester United. Man United, of course, have got lots of deals outside of what they earn off of the Premier League and TV and that. They've got lots of commercial deals. And Chelsea have got a sugar daddy owner who can pump loads of money into the team to keep it afloat and has done so over the years. Spurs and Arsenal, on the other hand, Arsenal, as we've seen, as I said right at the start of the show, got problems with finances at the moment. We're going to take a massive hit from this. We've got a squad that is in transition. There's a lot of dead wood in there that needs to leave, and we're not going to be able to get rid of. We're going to have to wait until the circumstances are that those players will leave, which will probably be at the end of next season. And Tottenham are going to be in huge financial trouble because they've bet everything on this new stadium. They've bet everything on the new stadium. They're going to have all the costs to pay, just like what Arsenal went through. And it's going to be really, really tough for them. Really, really tough for them to pay off that stadium. So I'd say you'd have to say, if I'm being honest, Man United and Chelsea probably, will be contenders before us. But then I'd say Arsenal next and then Spurs. I think Spurs are going to go for a tough time. I think they're going to find it they'll keep hold of, Harry Kane this summer. I think they'll find it very hard to keep hold of him next summer because they're going to have to start selling players. I think they're going to find it very difficult to bring players in. So, yeah. Simon says, mate, Ian Wright seems like a top bloke. What's he like in person? He's even better. That's what I'd say. Ian Wright, Arsenal through and through. Go and ask him about a North London derby. Go and ask if he agrees with Dele Alli. I don't think he will at all. So, no, Wright is a proper gooner and a proper guy as well. Love him. Slick Rick says, I'm an Arsenal fan, but to be fair, Chelsea have won the big one, the Champions League. Arsenal haven't. What's that got to do with what we're discussing right now? That ain't really got nothing to do with what we're talking about, bro. And I'm going to get a couple more in. Glamour says Dele Alli is rubbish. To be fair, he's been getting a lot of abuse on here. I haven't read out all of them, right? Because I'm trying to be fair to the guy, right? And this guy says none of our team's biggest rivalries, Chelsea. Chelsea are way ahead of both teams. They're not way ahead. I had this argument last night. Chelsea are not way ahead. This is why I was arguing with Lewis, and I was saying on the Aubameyang thing, Chelsea are not miles ahead of Arsenal. So if Aubameyang was going to go there to say, and he was saying, I'm going there because I want to win things, are they miles ahead that they're going to win things than we are? You know, they've had a very indifferent season. Had we have sacked Unai Emery earlier, I feel that we'd probably be near to Chelsea right now. Chelsea have had a poor season, really. Even though they're in the top four, I think they've lost more games than we have. So they're not miles ahead. Liverpool are miles ahead. Man City are miles ahead. Tottenham, no. Chelsea, no. They're not miles ahead. They're slightly ahead. And we'll get one more. This is Conrad Cohen. He says, West Ham v Spurs is a bigger rivalry than Chelsea versus Spurs. And he's probably a West Ham fan. And for West Ham, they look at that as their big game. That's a huge, huge game for them. That's their big rivalry. That's their big derby. Chelsea, you know, they've got a big rivalry with Spurs as well. That's their big one. But I'm sorry, the North London derby is the biggest London derby by far. The real one says Chelsea and Spurs fans are clearly trolling here. And Simon says, cheers for the stream, mate. Met you in Sydney. You're a legend. Oh, it'd be so good to go back to Sydney right now. I dream of going, taking a plane again and going to these countries. Awesome country, Australia. Thanks for watching the show today. Don't forget, we're going to be back later on this evening at 8 o'clock with the evening show. We might be discussing this one again. Maybe we might have to let me see if I can maybe get a Tottenham fan on, you know what I mean, to discuss this, see if they agree with that. But no, it's been a great discussion, and I will see you guys later on.